of Adventures with Grant. Today I have with me in the podcast room, Ride the Bean. Welcome, Ride the Bean. Who are you guys?
Thank you.
That's a good question.
We ask ourselves that all the time. Who are we?
Don't really know. We're just two people who got tired of living the same life in a loop, not really having anything new happen. So we decided to change that.
Okay,
Yeah.
So let's start from the beginning. Kenneth, that's your name, right?
Yes.
So, Kenneth, when did you guys meet? Why is there Ride the Bean? What was the impetus to start Ride the Bean? How did you guys come up with it together? Was it yes, where did Ride the Bean come from?
Well,
Can you maybe give a bit of history
a bit of history.
first?
We met about 3 years ago on Happen, one of those apps. Like Tinder, but
Yes.
not. And we walked upon each other probably at Jakobsen og Svart, the coffee shop that he worked at. And he had photos of himself out in nature and with a motorbike. And I was like, oh, cool, I can sit on the back of that thing. And my profile was also pretty colored by a love of nature. And so we hooked up on that thing. Both said we're interested in each other. And when it was finally time for us to meet, we met at a local pizza and beer place.
Habitats.
Habitats.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, because the audio track in
She
the
chose
bathroom.
place.
I chose the place because the audio track in the bathroom is David Attenborough.
Uh-huh.
Let me go again.
Is it always like that? They always have David Attenborough?
hmm
Really? I never knew that. Okay.
So I figured if the dude was horribly boring, I could just go there and hide and listen to David Attenborough. And if he thought that I was dreadful, then, well, he could just go there and listen to David Attenborough and he would love it.
Who doesn't love David Attenborough?
That's true. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So that was part of my escape plan, really.
Right. Yeah.
Turns out we didn't need much of an escape plan. We just met up for a beer, and before we knew it, guy came up and said, last call.
Right.
I've been there for like 3 hours or something.
Yeah.
Nice.
Time just flew by,
Yeah.
and we weren't really ready to say goodbye yet.
Okay, that's always a good sign.
It's a good sign. We wanted to talk some more, so we went for a walk, and we ended up at his coffee place
After hours,
after hours.
I had the keys.
you had the keys.
Got the keys. So he made me a coffee when we came there and taught me a little bit about the different kinds of coffees, and we were just talking.
Yeah, nice.
And we fell asleep in there
Really?
on the coffee bags.
Exciting.
Yes,
Top of 2 coffee bags.
on top
Yeah.
of 2 coffee bags.
There you go. That's a great first date.
It is.
Yeah.
And I could tell that he was trying to kiss me, actually.
Kenneth.
Okay. But I didn't know no, not yet. Just wasn't really ready for that.
Yeah.
So I just took his hand and turned away. So we were spooning on those coffee bags.
That's a really, really cool first date.
Yeah.
It is.
And then woke up at like 5:45 in the morning. I made some coffee.
Right.
And then Robin walked in the door for his morning shift.
Oh, that's golden.
Surprise!
Morning.
Yeah.
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 Very cool. Very cool. And how did you feel about that, Kenneth? Like, I mean, clearly you were happy about it. But how did you feel just only holding hands?
Yes. I didn't have any.
Were you happy with that?
Yeah. It was an interesting
Good.
conversation and an interesting person.
Yeah, good.
It's fascinating because she asked me if what my opinions on religion were.
That's early, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just gave like a rant, like a 10-minute rant, how fucking stupid it is. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to save that for another podcast. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she said, after like a 10-minute rant, she looked at me and just, I'm Christian.
Actually, I wouldn't have said that I'm Christian.
Oh,
I
you
would
said
have said
Catholic.
I'm Catholic.
right. So that was kind of like a moment,
Because there's a difference there.
a defining moment
Somehow.
of, you know,
Yeah.
where
There was
you
a
guys
tension and a conflict and an interest, a
Yes.
curiosity about each other.
It was like just how, like, this person who's so interesting, how can this person be religious?
Interesting.
That was just fascinating to me, and I wanted to find out more.
Yeah, cool.
And so,
And here you are.
yeah, here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah, so I guess after a couple of dates, clearly you had a good first one. Did it take a long time for you guys to feel that there was more and that it was leading to spending more time together to help each other, or did that come a lot later on? Was the beginning
It was
Just
actually, I think,
hanging out?
our second or third dates, we went to my cabin,
right?
and we just, like,
For a weekend.
Yeah.
went skiing, brought my dog, and just had a lot of fun. And after
Yeah.
that, we basically were together.
You were good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good.
It was good.
That's amazing.
And like over time, we both had been struggling a little bit with depression for different reasons
Yeah.
for quite a few years.
Mm.
And so we sort of understood each other because of that. I had a mutual respect and understanding
Mm.
where we came from, each other came from. And after some time, then I guess we just decided, like, we had to ask ourselves the question, what do we want out of life? What is the purpose of life? And after reflecting on it, at least from my perspective, I've come to the realization that there is no purpose, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah.
We are just stardusts created in supernova,
Right.
scattered across the galaxy. That's just the objective facts. And so,
sorry to cut you off there, Kenneth, but how did that make you feel? Is that having that religious background, being Catholic and stuff? How did that feel?
Well, it was an interesting idea. But I was on my way out of church.
Okay.
So I had been very active in church. I had Sunday school and I had catechesis for kids going up to their first communion. I was partly in charge of the sacristy. So I was in church like maybe 3 or 4 days a week.
Yeah.
So pretty into it and very involved. But I was just coming out of it by myself.
Okay, why were you coming out of it?
Because it was too all-consuming.
Right.
And I felt like the life that I had set up for myself there was unattainable. And I just couldn't reach up to the standards that I had set for myself. I kind of knew that they were set there by myself. Even my priest told me, nobody expects anything like this from you.
Right.
You're the only one. But I couldn't take it anymore. It was suffocating.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But at the same time, it was a very rewarding experience for me. And I grew a lot there. I got more and more responsibility and I learned more and more.
Yeah.
So that was an awesome learning curve for me. But at a certain point, it was just time for me to go.
Right, okay.
And Kenneth's, at first I was a bit, when Kenneth was talking, I was like, yeah, that's interesting. That's your thing. I didn't want to leave church because of him, because I fell in love with someone, and I didn't want to just follow him because I was in love with him. That was important to me. So I was just, not really jumping to any conclusions at that time.
You were trying to find yourself first.
Yeah.
And what you stood for and kind of what life was going to give you together with Kenneth, not because of Kenneth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or with myself, first
Yeah.
and foremost.
Yes.
And with Kenneth, if that was a good thing
Exactly.
for both of us.
Yep,
Mhm.
yep. Nice. So, I mean, you guys haven't been together that long, right?
No, 2
So-
years.
So a lot's happened in quite a short framework. So now we've got to this stage where you realize you like each other. Religion was a bit of a point of contention. You were leaving the church. And when did you guys start thinking that, we don't want to own houses, we don't want to work in a conventional way anymore, we would like to leave all that behind and change our course?
Well, that took some time.
I can imagine.
Yeah. That decision wasn't made until probably just 6 months ago, like a final decision.
Right.
6-7 months ago. But I've always loved traveling. And my happiest moments in life has been on the top of Kilimanjaro, in the savannas of Africa, Machu Picchu in Peru, like those unique places around the world that I have been. Those are the moments in my life where I've felt at ease with the world. And I took my motorbike license, or I've always had a dream of sailing around the world, but I've never been on a sailboat.
Right.
And I took my motorbike license about 5 years ago, in 2015. And right after that, I watched Ewan McGregor's Long Way Round and Long Way Down.
That was a cool show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since then, that kind of trip has been sort of stuck in my head on the loop. It's like, I have to do that. I have to.
Nice.
Just have to. At some point in my
It
life.
is a cool trip.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then that sort of, after sort of talking about it as a vague idea in the beginning, it sort of got closer and closer and closer, and we both sort of realized that we can choose to continue the life that we have, going to work, having like a normal A4 life, or we could choose to not have that and see what happens. Don't really know. So we sort of decided slowly but surely that we started thinking about the consequences of it, the practicality of it, what would have to happen and all of that stuff, and talked about that for many months until we finally decided that, yes, we're going to do this. We're going to go all in. And at that point, it was just settled, basically. We just had to figure out how.
So with all that in mind, you didn't have a motorbike license or anything like that. So now you've got to...
It's just crazy, isn't it?
To be on board with this, you need to learn how to ride a motorbike.
I need to be crazy, don't I?
You do. You need to step out.
Well, I didn't even have a license for a car.
Okay, I didn't know that.
No.
Aha, the plot thickens, right?
The plot thickens. I had I wasn't very interested in getting a car license when I was 18, and then it just never happened.
Yeah.
In recent years, I had wanted to get a car license because I wanted to go hiking with my friends.
Right.
And have the ability to take a car and drive to different places and go skiing and stuff. But it was just too much of a task for me.
Right.
There's so many steps in getting your license.
In Norway, it's quite difficult.
It is.
Expensive.
And expensive, yeah.
And I thought, I can't do this. So I never started.
That was just like, no.
Don't
have the time for it? Was it a time thing? Or was it like, I don't really need this?
No, I felt like I needed it and I felt like I wanted it. But it was a task that was too great for me to take on.
Okay.
It's like a typical depression thing.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. If something seems too big, then you just never start doing it. And when I got to ride on the back of Kenneth's motorbike, I really loved it because you get to come so close to nature while you're riding. So you can experience nature while getting through nature, and you get to see a lot of the things that you would when you were hiking, but just more of it and more varied. Plus there's this sensation of the smells around you and the wind in my hair and the rain on my face. I just think it's awesome.
Yeah.
And we were discussing whether I should get my license or not, or whether I should be pillion on Kenneth's bike.
Right.
Because a lot of people do that, also circumnavigating Africa. But I thought, well, dang, this dude's going to be eaten by a lion. I'm going to need a way to escape.
Yep.
You thought I would be eaten by a lion?
I thought
Not
you
that
would
it
be
may
eaten by-
happen, but you actually...
Nothing dramatic, but you know.
You never know. And what am I going to do? Am I going to stand there and watch you be eaten? No, I'm going to drive off.
You're going to
Just
drive
leave me there.
over the lion first.
No,
Or
it's
just
gonna
drive
wa-
off.
It's
No,
gonna watch
'cause-
me be eaten.
Exactly.
No, because he's always been clear about the fact that life really means nothing.
Yeah.
So a good way for him to go would be to be eaten by lions.
I'm sure Kenneth in some crazy way would enjoy that.
Yeah, right.
So it
Yeah.
goes, it's part of the circle of life.
Exactly,
As
yeah,
long as my
yeah.
energy can go back into something living again,
Yep.
something that I care about.
Yep.
Worms
Crazy,
are
right?
nice too, but I prefer mammals. So
Yep, there you
I-
go, there you go.
prefer to be eaten by a mammal.
Fair
Yes.
enough. So yes, your license.
Yes, my license. I just thought that I could never do it, and it was just too great for me. And Kenneth said, well, did you ever... Well, 6 years ago, did you ever think that you'd be a nurse? And I said, no. Well, you're a nurse. I said, what? You're right, I am a nurse. Maybe I can do this. And he just said, all right, first step is theory exam. Now study like this, and I'll get you an appointment this date, and you're going to show up. Because if you don't show up, you're going to have to pay anyway.
Yep.
So I showed up, and I aced the exam.
Yeah. Well,
Unsurprisingly.
Yeah.
before that, I picked her up at work one day, and the practice course for the driving schools were right next to her job.
Oh, right. There you go.
And so
Too
on
easy.
the way home, I just suggested one day that should we just want to try? I can show you how to clutch and gear.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah.
regretted that pretty fast.
Yeah, the bike had a few tumbles, but yeah, you learned pretty
Yeah, I
quickly.
did learn.
Yeah, so yeah.
So that took about a year, and I sort of knew about this trip when we started taking the classes. So when I approached the driving school, I was like, "Hey, yo, I'm gonna drive my motorcycle from the North Cape to Cape Town. You want to help me get my license?" So the pressure was way up here,
Yeah.
and well, somehow it happens, and now I'm here.
There you go.
Quit my job and sold my apartment and everything, and now we're going.
Yes, and I think that's, to be really nice to hear a little bit more about, like, okay, you guys have now got together, you found each other,
Yeah.
you found a partner in crime, essentially, right? You had to learn how to ride a motorbike. But there's more to this journey, right? There's, you guys have started a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You guys have maybe some other reasons around the trip that are
Well-
probably quite important maybe to share with...
Well, the whole thing started because of that one question: what is the purpose of life?
Right.
And so we had to make a decision. What kind of life do we want to live in the future for the however many years we have
Yeah.
left? We may die tomorrow being hit by a car, or we may not. We
Right.
never know. So there's no point in just saving up for everything for the future. And so when we made that choice, we tried to figure out, okay, how are we going to do it? And if we are going on a trip like this, like, we want to see the world, but if we're going to do that, we want to film it so our kids or family or whatever can see what happened.
Yeah, enjoy it with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we started thinking, well, if we're going to film it, maybe we can just put it online on
Right.
YouTube. Just why not? And then the idea started sort of snowballing about, okay, maybe we can actually like start a proper YouTube channel and actually do something about this.
Nice.
And then, like, I'm a coffee roaster, and I love coffee. And for me, like, part of the biggest reason probably that I love coffee is the effects that coffee has to bring people together. Because a cup of coffee between two people can break any barriers. It's much easier to get to know someone over a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And so that's how we figured, okay, I'm a coffee roaster, so we should then bring coffee with us along on the trip. And that's, yeah.
Yeah. Now, as far as I saw when you walked in, you had some coffee with you,
Speaking
didn't
of
you?
coffee,
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
about time.
So
Wanna
should we
try
have
some?
a little taste and
Yes, please.
you guys can talk me through the coffee and just for a couple of minutes while we're talking about
Yeah.
other things as well. So while Kenneth's preparing that, on this YouTube channel that you have, is it all just about the traveling, or can you give me a bit more of a detailed idea of what the channel's about?
Sure. It's also a lot about coming out of your comfort zone,
Right.
because we noticed that we liked to play it a little bit safe, but realized that the moments that we felt really alive were when we had come out of our comfort zones
Right.
and grew from that. And the part of being on YouTube was really uncomfortable. That was the last thing I wanted. This is like crazy idea.
Both
What?
pretty shy people.
What? Why
Yes.
on YouTube? People are gonna see us.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's scary stuff.
It is. It's scary doing this.
It is.
Yeah.
It's really scary.
There you go.
Thank you, Kenneth.
But what happens if you do make a fool of yourself?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
Well, I guess that was the question you guys were asking yourself, you know, while you were thinking of all these things to do. I mean, just looking at your journey so far, you meet each other, great, cool, but it seems that you quickly realize that you guys have a lot in common regarding how you see the world. And that's probably that impetus to ask some more difficult questions in order to get through life, maybe.
Right. And like when I was younger, still young, 34,
Yes.
but when I was younger, I was very it was very important for me to have everything be perfect,
Right.
and that I should just never give anything away and never really dive into anything completely. And I realized that at some point I started testing myself. Like in last year of nursing school, I thought, I've never failed a test before. I wonder what happens if I fail a test. How's that going to feel? And so I failed the test. And I learned what that felt like, and I lived. And I also realized that I kind of love making a fool of myself.
Was it through that test? That like the question and then the feeling of, because you must have thrown the test, right?
Yeah, I did
Right?
throw the test.
So you threw the test. So it's an intentional. You've purposefully put yourself in a place to find out how something feels.
Mm-hmm. And I
Right.
was very afraid of making a fool of myself, because then I would blush.
Yep.
And that would be awful. And I tried it with a patient once too. So this old man is trying to get out of bed, and his grandson is there.
Right.
And as he's struggling to get out of bed, I'm helping him. He rips a really loud one. And his eyes are just... He's in so much pain. And I look at his grandson and say, I'm really sorry. That was very unprofessional of me. I couldn't hold it.
Yeah.
And I really loved it,
Right.
in a way.
That embarrassment, in a way.
Claiming responsibility for someone else's flatulence.
Interesting.
Does it make sense?
It does make sense. Absolutely. Because you're protecting someone as well, right?
I am.
Yeah.
And it was a sort of a safe way for me to make a fool of myself.
Mm.
So for this YouTube channel, if I did make a fool of myself, maybe that's something I could live with.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. We've
And for
made
you,
quite
Kenneth?
a lot of fools of ourselves.
But is it the same for you regarding stepping out of your comfort zone? And
Yeah. Not for the same reasons, probably.
Mm.
I've always felt stupid. Like, never felt like I've actually achieved anything.
Right.
But that's probably because I set my standards for myself too high.
Yeah.
But then again, it goes back to the question that nothing matters. Nothing matters, no matter how you look at it.
But that perspective, has that changed over time?
No, really. I just understand it from better, I guess.
Okay.
Because I never believed in anything, and I always understood science. But after reading Richard Dawkins and Neil Tyson and actually understanding how the molecules in my body were created, you realize that no matter what happens, the Earth will keep spinning for a few billion years, and then it'll get swallowed by the sun, and then nothing matters in the end, whatever you do and think.
Yeah.
And that's sort of a relief to me. And once I sort of really understood that fact, I felt more relaxed and less afraid of messing up, and didn't really think of anything as that serious anymore. And
You know what does matter though? Coffee getting cold.
Coffee getting cold.
So,
good.
since you brought some coffee, and just to get back to one of your products, do you want to tell us about the coffee, and we can
Yeah,
open
well,
the taste?
that's coffee getting cold. That's a sign of good quality coffee. If the coffee tastes good when it's cold, it's good coffee.
Right.
Yeah. So since I'm a coffee roaster, of course, we needed our own coffee. So I started roasting our own coffee at first, but that's going to be a little bit difficult when we're on the road.
Yeah.
So we've teamed up with Adrian, a former colleague and competitor of mine. I used to compete in the barista championships.
Right.
And Adrian recently started his own roastery called Coffee. And this is actually one of the first batches of that coffee.
Okay, and where's it from?
This particular one is from Ethiopia.
Okay.
So we're
It's
gonna
the fruity beans.
Yes.
So we're gonna have. We are called Ride the Bean, right?
Yeah.
The name comes from riding motorcycles and the coffee bean. So we're riding the coffee bean around the world,
Yeah.
basically. And so then we figured we'd call the coffee the bean. And so we have two types. We have a breakfast coffee that we call the nutty bean,
Right.
which is more like a traditional normal coffee. And then we have this one, which is a more fruity and more like special
Okay.
coffee
Yeah.
that we call the fruity bean.
Nice. Well, it tastes good. It's not
Yeah.
bad, eh? We'll have to give cheers to Adrian and Coffee for producing such a nice coffee.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's awesome. He has a tiny roastery.
Yeah,
It's called a nano roastery, right?
Yeah,
Is that-
it has a bullet, a V1 coffee roaster, I think.
Right.
So roast just 1 kilo at a time. And
That's so
it
cool.
takes some time to roast.
Yeah, so you
several
guys
bags, but-
hope that you sell loads and make him work really hard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cool thing though is that by selling our coffee, we support him
Yeah.
and growing his dream.
And he's local?
He's local. He's actually lives just a kilometer away from where we are
Right.
staying right now.
Beans are not local.
No, beans
No,
are not
be-
local. Beans are not
Thankfully.
local. So, okay, cool. Well, I didn't want to stay on the coffee for too long, but it's really nice to know that you guys have partnered up with someone local
Yeah.
and are able to sort of hopefully sell some of these bags of coffee to support your journey.
Yeah, that's the goal at least. So
yeah.
hopefully, like the idea behind it was that we want to use it to get to know people along the way. Like when we meet an interesting person, we want to sit down and have a chat with them and maybe make a YouTube episode
Yeah,
about it.
and I was just going to ask you about that because I looked through your channel. You guys have a few different episodes. So one type of episode is the journey, the motorbikes, camping, a little bit of history along the way of where you are and things like that. And then you have Coffee and Friends. Do you
Yeah,
want to
the-
tell me a little bit about Coffee and Friends and what you...
Well, that's exactly it. It's just getting to know a person over a cup of coffee. Yeah, well, we want to, when we meet an interesting person that we want to get to know better.
But does it have to be someone you know or...
No. It can be any interesting person that wants to have a chat with us.
Right, cool.
And it's preferably, well, it doesn't have to be on camera. It's nice to get to know
Of
people
course,
anyway.
of course.
But
yeah. But if they're up
if
for
they're
it, yeah.
up for it, it would be nice to have it on camera. We've like most of the people I have in my life today, I've gotten to know through coffee in some way, either just by having a cup of coffee over the counter, talking about it, or meeting people for a cup of coffee here and there, or like this coffee has usually been a part of me getting to know most of the people in my life
Right.
in some way. And so I find it as like, I think it's the perfect way to meet people.
Yeah,
it's,
nice.
it's an excuse, like, hey, you want to grab a cup of coffee and just have a chat.
Yeah.
It's much easier than just to, hey, want to talk with me.
Yeah, you've got something. You've got something
Yeah.
facilitating a conversation. And
Exactly.
You can discuss the coffee. You can discuss your roasting.
Exactly.
You've got entrances into a conversation. And, yeah, and then on your channel, you've also got some personal growth videos. Should we call them that? Or
I guess
challenge
it's,
videos
getting
or
out of your comfort zone.
comfort zone?
Videos,
Yeah, getting out of your comfort
So,
zone videos.
For
So,
example, she challenged me. We like to sort of do these small challenges for each other. Just try something that you're uncomfortable doing. It doesn't have to be a big thing.
No.
But just at first it was just getting in front of the camera. That's uncomfortable. Now we're pretty comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
Then she challenged me to draw blood from her. She's a nurse, so she
Right.
brought phlebotomy kits. Learned a new word.
Yes.
Phlebotomy.
I never heard that word before myself.
So she
and,
let, she let me draw her blood. That
Right.
was scary. Like, I'm not afraid of needles for myself, but poking someone else with a needle, that's scary.
I would not be able to do that. Well, as far as I know right now.
Well, a 6-year-old girl
Right.
once drew blood from me, so
Really?
Can't be worse than a 6-year-old girl,
No.
can I?
Well, you'd like to think, you know. But,
6-year-old
okay,
girls are awesome, though.
they are.
They are.
They are. And for you, what about the challenges Kenneth's given you?
Oh shit! It makes me queasy just to think about it.
Okay.
So he has a tarantula
Ah.
as a pet. He told me about that on our first date. Actually, he said, "You
Really?
got a tarantula,"
And you were still happy to lay with him on those bags of beans at the end of the
yeah,
night.
well, I was thinking, I'm never, ever coming back to your place. Never.
Is that why you stayed on the beans? Because you weren't going back to his place?
Absolutely not. First, of course, it was also a first date. So
Of course.
So there's a safety thing there
Yeah.
as well. But he challenged me to hold his tarantula.
Right.
Oh, it just freaked me out.
But
Completely.
then you know, are you scared of general like creepy crawlies all the time, or
Yes.
specifically spiders, like arachnophobia, like, or you know?
I was terrified of spiders growing up
Right.
and as a kid, and even when I was 25, 26, 28, I was terrified of them, even to this stage where I couldn't really be in nature and enjoy myself because I was too
Right.
worried that I might see a spider. And of course, Norwegian spiders are tiny,
They're
tiny.
tiny.
Can't even, it doesn't even feel my fingernail. But there's something that's just so terrifying about them that I just couldn't do it.
Right.
And but I had to sort of made myself be comfortable enough with the spiders that live here to be out tenting
Yeah.
and hiking. But when he brought out that tarantula, I was ugh.
Now I have actually watched that video, and it's I actually showed my son, and he enjoyed it because
Oh.
because he wants, you know, he likes reptiles and spiders, and I've asked him, you know, if you want a pet, what kind of pet would you like?
Yeah.
And he would either like a spider or a snake, right?
Oh.
I love both of them.
Yeah.
Well,
animals.
as you know, Grant, we are planning to leave the country.
You are. Yes.
And we have a tarantula.
You do.
She needs a home.
She does, and I will be more than happy to take care of her until
Yeah.
you come back.
Oh, shit.
You know? But
Deal.
yeah, I'm up for that.
Cool.
Do you want to pet her?
I will pet her. Yes.
Can she crawl on you?
Yeah.
Well,
After
you
she's
grew
been
up in
fed.
Australia.
I did grow up in
So-
Australia, but that doesn't mean I'm very comfortable with spiders crawling on me. It's not like that's a natural thing. You know, in Australia, when you walk through the bush, one of the things I find most terrifying is not seeing the spider, but it's walking through a web and not knowing where the spider is.
Yeah.
That's the scary part.
The scary part is when you don't know if they're
Ex-
venomous or not.
Well, exactly. And in Australia, everything is, right? But spider bites, to die from a spider bite in Australia, even the funnel web spider, which is, you know, one of the world's most deadly spider, no one's died from it for, I don't think, ever.
Is it true that people in Australia die more from fear of spiders than the actual spiders itself?
That would make sense to me, but I can't confirm.
I think more people die from coconuts falling on their head.
we don't even have those, so that would be amazing too. But maybe bananas, bunches of bananas falling on their heads. No, yeah, but how did it feel then?
Oh, it felt just at the moment. It felt just completely nerve-wracking. I didn't know where to put myself.
So we'll have to get everyone to watch that video.
Oh, there's just so much adrenaline in my body that once
she was on your hand, you were pretty calm.
You did do very well, and I enjoyed the part where you were trying to put her back, and she just kept crawling around and around.
She would not let go
because she liked you, because you were so calm.
I was terrified of making any sudden movements with my hand because she might freak out and bite me and eat me and all kinds of awful things. And I was also worried about hurting her, but I couldn't keep my legs steady.
Right.
So I was like running in place with the hand steady. And after I just had amazing release of endorphins that I had actually done it. Took me a year to kind of get used to her being around, but then all of a sudden she was in my hand.
Yes.
Ugh.
Right. So
can we see the video?
With all that in mind, maybe we can put that video on and show a little clip. Yeah. And while Kenneth's looking for that, I guess those little challenge videos you have, if that's what you want to call them, kind of set the tone for things that you may experience on the trip as well, where
absolutely
you're not going to always know what's coming up. Mm-hmm. So it's helping you get out of that comfort zone for just new things that may happen that you'll have to learn from very quickly, right?
Right. So it's an experience.
Spiders. Oh.
That intro is going to freak any arachnophoid out.
At least I'm not alone in my fear of spiders. It's one of the most common phobias around, understood by evolutionary psychologists to be a remnant of a past where venomous spiders actually were a threat to our survival. Growing up, I learned that spiders love the smell of toothpaste, and so they crawl into your mouth as you sleep. Now, that's just nasty. Now, naturally, I was very quick to call for help whenever such a beast would enter my house. And that kept me from enjoying the great outdoors, because I was so afraid I would run into a spider. Now, the beauty...
Just fast forward a bit.
No, that's all right. She doesn't want to. She doesn't want to. Shh.
Right, so we don't want to give too much away. We'd like to get people to watch this as well.
I'm gonna walk with her to the cage. I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine.
Right, let's not show the whole video, but I think hopefully that will get people to your channel to check out the rest of it and see how it all ended up.
Or they're going to stay away forever.
Well, they may or may not. But at the end of this, when we're kind of done, I want you guys to show a little bit more of another video as well.
Yeah.
Just so you can introduce people to your channel as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But so as I was saying before, this is setting the tone for this journey you guys have got planned. So since we don't have too much time left now, maybe it'd be nice for you to sort of talk us through where you're starting and just a short idea of where you guys would like to go and which countries are really important to this trip.
Well, the original plan was to go from North Cape to Cape Town.
Right.
Down West Africa and up East Africa.
Okay.
And like some of the highlights for me at least was the coffee countries, because I've been buying coffee from farmers in a lot of those countries, and I would like to visit the farms that I've been buying coffee from. Also, I've never been to West Africa. I've been a little bit to the southern parts of Africa and eastern parts, but I've never been to Western Africa.
Right.
So that was that's a place that I've always wanted to go. Just find it fascinating.
Yeah, but are there parts? Is it just the coffee that's dragging you to these places, or are there sites that you'd like to see?
Well, for me, it's
of course there's going to be amazing things all the way, but
she has never really been traveling before, so she sort of latched onto my dream of seeing more of Africa.
Yeah.
And I did a backpacking tour some years ago,
right,
around the world, and I finished off in Africa, and I've been to a few countries in Africa. and it's just I just found every country and every place I visited in Africa was just amazing. And I love the people, the cultures, and most of all the wildlife. It's just like we're used to being in Norway and in nature here, and when you see a moose, it's a rare sight, and you're so excited.
Yeah.
In Africa, you see animals everywhere, and it's just the most beautiful thing ever.
20 of them gathered in a pond.
Yeah.
To have water.
I saw the wildebeests in the Serengeti, like during the migration, like a million
Wow.
animals in
I've never seen
one.
that.
It's just amazing.
Can't wait to see the animals.
I'd love to join you guys. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds so amazing.
You should come and meet us.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Fly down to
Convince-
Ethiopia.
Convince a few
Tanzania.
people.
Yeah. So that was the idea, like why we chose Africa, because there's a lot of beautiful places in the world we could ride to. But Cape to Cape is sort of a good trip.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in Cape Town, and I've seen parts of South Africa and things like that. And I guess in Cape Town, there's no lions, right? But you'll see baboons, and you'll see some nice, interesting sort of indigenous marsupials and things like that. But it's when you get a little bit further north, and you start getting into Tanzania and places like that, where that openness and wildlife just exponentially opens up.
Yeah.
And it's hello. It's really fascinating, and I've always had an interest in animals and things like that. I'm not an expert on anything, but I enjoy them. I like looking at them. I like seeing what they get up to. And you guys are going to have that face to face.
We are.
That's the dream. That's like camping, wild camping in Africa. Those are some
amazing.
of the best moments in my life. Some of the best memories that I can remember from my travels.
We're going to see so much.
But are there any particular landmarks that you may have sought out, or special places you think you'd like to go to, tick off on this journey?
I would really like to see the Atlas Mountains in Morocco. And there is the Etosha Valley in Namibia. Really excited for that one.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I would really like to go hiking in Cape Town.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Table Mountain.
That I've done, so I can give you a thumbs up on that. So that's amazing.
I really, really, really want to see the mountain gorillas in Uganda.
Right.
And the pyramids of Sudan. Those are. Yeah. My dad used to work in southern Sudan.
Oh, right.
For the UN as a police officer.
Okay.
And around that time, 10 years ago or something like that, I just became really fascinated with the pyramids in Sudan. Like they're so unknown compared to the ones in Giza.
Yeah, I don't know anything about them.
And I just found them extremely fascinating.
So I'll have to send some pictures our way on your trips and travels. And
yeah.
Absolutely. And just the sheer length of our trip.
Yeah.
How long do you plan on traveling for?
1.5 to 2 years.
Wow.
About 70,000 kilometers plus minus.
So we're going to be in a completely travel mindset.
Right.
So all our everyday thoughts that we have here, everything that we stress to finish, will be gone.
Replaced by something else.
With another stressor, of course, because life isn't free of stress. But for me, there's not going to be a patient waiting in a room for me to come in and fix something, and there's not going to be any customers waiting in line for Kenneth. And we're going to just be and go.
You can do what you want, right?
We can.
Quite literally.
Yep.
And I guess it's the only hindrance, if you like, is going to be the tasks you give yourself regarding YouTube or social media or whether you want to or not, right? You guys get to choose how often you want to do these things. And
so you could, like, we've seen other people who have done a similar trip. They've done it much faster, but we don't want to stress. We want to take our time, and so we don't want to ride every single day. So we've set aside about, like, on average about 6 hours a day of riding, and then 3 to 4 days a week, and then 3 to 4 days a week
to enjoy yourselves.
Yeah, we stop at a place and to edit videos and to see the place that we are, and yeah, so we're not in a rush to get anywhere.
That sounds amazing. It really does.
Yeah, we're really excited about all the people that we're going to meet. Already just announcing our dream and plan. We've met so many amazing people through social media. We've been invited to so many countries and cities, apartments and cabins. Come stay with us. Come ride with us. All over the world.
See, the world's not that bad a place, is it?
No,
it's not. And just
a lot of great people out there.
Yeah. So, way to get out of our comfort zones. We're being repaid.
That's
by
amazing.
Meeting all these awesome people.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. So I guess there's one question mark, I guess, on this, which is called COVID-19.
that's the big.
Where does that
bump
leave
in the
you
road.
guys? What happens? Is there good information out there that sort of helps you? Because you guys were planning on leaving in November,
Yeah,
if I remember
just,
correctly,
just a few months away.
right? Which is not far away at all. And maybe I guess a lot of this is riding on.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Right now, we can't even go to Denmark.
No,
We're not
Exactly.
allowed unless we have a dying relative there.
right.
But borders are starting to open now, and we're beginning to see some hope.
Good.
The whole entrance of COVID was just devastating to our dream. We have to keep in mind some perspective, of course.
Of course.
Not being able to ride a motorcycle around the world is not the worst thing that could happen to you. But since we had put so much into it, it was kind of devastating for us personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just going to have to wait and see a little bit about COVID. Maybe we're going to have to spend more time in Europe waiting to come into Africa, or maybe we're going to have to change our plans and go east instead.
Right. Yep.
But information and trustworthy information is a problem, and healthcare is a problem.
But being in the healthcare system, do you get better information maybe than some of us? Perhaps?
not
No.
from the international.
No.
No.
Yeah, I get that.
It's like the reason we wanted to. Our original plan was to leave in May of next year, but then after talking to other travelers, they highly recommended to leave November at the latest,
Right.
because we wanted to avoid the rainy season
Okay,
in
makes sense.
West Africa,
Yeah.
because it's impossible to get through there in the rainy season.
Right. Now, is there a backup plan?
Yeah,
If
we're
things
sort of
get halted?
either we've been thinking about a few different things, but it all depends on which borders are open. So we have to be flexible, and
Right.
so we've sort of realized that that's part of traveling. Part of an adventure is being flexible,
Yeah, definitely.
and so we may go east. We've been invited to India to come ride with some motorcyclists in India.
Wow,
That would be
that's
cool
not
destination.
a bad backup plan at
No.
all.
Mongolia would be a great country to visit.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then maybe go the other way around, so that we start in so go through Egypt and then down Ethiopia,
Okay,
Kenya
yeah.
first, and
Yeah.
then come West Africa up again. That may be.
Cool.
So the only thing we know right now is that we've set enough things in motion to know that we're leaving.
Okay, well that's cool.
I don't
That's
have
really
a job in November, so we are leaving.
Good. You're leaving.
We're going somewhere.
You're going somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Well, that's cool.
Ideally outside of Norway, because Norway from November on is going to be cold.
Yeah, exactly.
Really cold. So we're really excited to see where we end up, and we're really excited to see what kind of people we're going to meet on our way.
Awesome. All right, guys. So now we're coming to the close of the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Before you guys leave, though, I'd really like you guys to introduce your channel. Maybe play a video with the introduction and stuff so people can know what they're looking for and what they'll see. And you guys can give yourselves a little plug. And good luck. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me and sharing what your plans are.
Nice to...
Starting a new life.
Yeah.
We are starting a new life.
So this is from our first motorcycle trip
What's up,
on
guys?
our new motorcycles.
Cool. There you go.
Today is our first
Yeah.
camping trip on our new Tennis.
I guess. Damn seagulls! Look at those bastards.
We've loaded our bikes.
I've been hearing him today
and we're
too.
ready to go.
Yep. Unfortunately, my Explorer pack and with the side cases and all that has not arrived yet. Yeah.
All right. Well, okay. And now, just before we leave, I thought it would be interesting just to mention that there's a couple of friends that have helped you out,
Absolutely.
especially Louis.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's been. Actually, that's kind of a funny story. Louis was a chef when we opened the coffee shop that I worked at.
Right.
And then we didn't really, after he quit, we didn't really see each other for some years.
Yeah.
And then we just randomly decided to meet up for a beer at Ila Brandstation, a pub in town.
Yep.
And we just started discussing. That was before we had sort of decided on creating this thing. And we just like threw ideas out. And Louis is a graphic designer. So he said, "Oh, that would be awesome." And we threw some ideas back and forth. And then a couple days later, he had drawn up 9 suggestions for logos for us.
There you go.
So he made our logo. He's
Yeah.
been with us from the start.
Perfect.
He made some coffee labels for us that really reflected our trip to Africa.
Great.
And now he just redid the labels.
Okay, so now that we've spoken about him, I don't want to drag on too long. Let's get a picture up of those
Yes.
lovely labels and the coffee
labels.
and the logo that he's done. If you can give Louis a little promo as well.
Yes. So
Yeah.
these are really cool. He drew those by hand, both motorbikes.
It's over
Amazing.
500 individual lines.
Yeah.
apparently.
So he does labels, websites, and all kinds of things, graphic wise.
Amazing.
Yeah. So if you need a graphic designer, I would definitely go for him.
Maybe we can put a link and stuff in the video and we'll
Definitely.
sort of make
He's
sure
a-
we...
A great guy and does really, really awesome work.
awesome.
He is. Yeah.
Great stuff. All right. Thank you so much.
Also, there's another dude that's been helping us
Is there?
by the name of Grant.
Oh, you snuck that
I
one in there,
snuck
didn't
that
you?
one in there.
Hey?
So, thank you a lot.
Anytime.
Thank you very much. You've helped us structure ourselves and just find a bit of direction of where we want to go. And you're always open to our questions and always ready to guide us.
Well,
So,
thank you so much. And I love just being a part of anything you guys do because
To coffee friends.
to Coffee
Coffee
Friends.
Friends.
And I really believe in what you guys are doing. I love the fact that it was born from the impetus to improve life.
Yeah. We only have one life, so
Exactly. Yeah.
better choose what we want to do with it.
So, I'll support you guys as much as I can. And I'm always here. Always. So thank you for the quick little plug. Much appreciated. But to Ride the Bean, thank you so much for being here. You guys are awesome and good luck.
It was fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ride
Nice.
the bean. We're going to go off and ride now.
Ride
Yeah.
the bean.
Ride the bean.
Riding the bean around the world.
Yes.
Awesome. Nice. How was that?
Very nice.
Captain? My captain.
That was weird.
We went a bit over time there.
We didn't go over time, actually. I think we're pretty close to 1 hour. Yes. We started at 6 o'clock. It's now 6